Back again, for the first time again.
For the first time.
It's like we've never had a conversation before. It's all new,
Never.
this thing.
You know, I feel a little sense of deja vu.
A little sense of deja.
Yeah.
Well, my good friend here, Anthony Fiandaca, is referring to the fact that we, as a growing outfit, are recording podcast after podcast, getting them right, figuring it all out. And what we're going to be doing is bringing to you the lovely people of the Seacoast of New Hampshire and beyond. We extend as a community deep into the Seacoast of Maine and to some extent Massachusetts. We're going to be bringing podcasts of all of these spectacular and amazing people through this community to everybody out there in the internet and very far beyond. It's going to be a wide range, lots of musicians, lots of artists, and entertainers in general, so a lot of restaurateurs. I have a couple of those lined up. I believe they're all interesting, and because of the weird way that I've lived my life of the past 20 years, I've collected a really weird Rolodex of some of the most interesting and incredible people I've ever met. So this is all under Seacoast Entertainer. I think a lot of people know that Seacoast music scene here locally in the Seacoast area is kind of a meeting place. I would like to introduce everybody to the person who, sitting next to me in either his car or my car while driving back and forth, flyering in Durham at UNH,
Sure.
Portsmouth, hitting all of the coffee spots, came up with the idea, there's got to be a better way, there's got to be a more modern way.
Do you remember what we first called it? It was Seacoast Music Alliance.
See, I don't remember that. You remember that.
I have the logo that we kind of planned out for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Anthony Vito Fiandaca, or as I refer to him, Don Vito, because he's slightly Italian.
Just
And he's the
slightly.
boss.
Sometimes.
This is Seacoast Music Scene is basically what we're going to be talking about today, I think.
Yes.
A little bit into personal stuff. We tend
of
to go
course.
tangent pretty regularly. Tony, to fill you all in, we've had about 1 million conversations lasting 17 cajillion, if that's a ballpark estimate, number of minutes.
The Dover days.
The Dover days
Dover
were long.
days were long.
I remember a lot of them standing out on your deck in Lee.
Yeah. We had some good nights hanging out, playing drums after being out.
True. Lots
And
of conversations.
I never knew I could play drums as well until I was sitting at your set, and I'm like, oh, that's where drums are supposed to be.
So I have this idea that in order to properly set up your drum kit, you have to sit on your drum throne and explode the entire kit out.
Yeah.
You take everything and you push it back, and then you figure out how your body mechanics work, because everybody's unique.
Yeah, I totally get
And
that.
then as soon as you figure out roughly where your arms and your reach lie, you start pulling stuff in, and that's how you build your kit.
There's one other drummer that had a really, oh God, I can't remember. I can see his face. Back in like Biddy Mulligan days.
Oh my God, we're going back.
Yeah, Lee Levitt.
I don't know.
He was a great metal drummer from back in the day, and gosh, he had touch and feel. He was super powerful, and he knew how to play light, and he would have these great facial expressions.
Great
while he's
dynamics,
playing.
great stage presence.
Yeah, he was really an interesting guy. I'm surprised you hadn't heard him.
Haven't heard of him.
Oh,
No,
no,
but this
yeah.
is exactly the type of thing that I'm looking to get out of this podcast and to show people is all of these interesting people I've talked about standing in front of a brick wall outside of a show, either just getting on or just going off, and getting familiar with people, hearing about the past and talking about the future, what you're up to. So good way to start right there. You encapsulate slightly what we're doing, where it is, what we're up to. But moreover, let everybody in on the idea of kind of what this is, how it functions, while at the same time getting out some names and past stuff. So who were the bands that he performed with? Do you remember any off the top of your...
You find one thing and you go.
Well, it's a musician who speaks to you. Someone who you just really vibe with and you like the way that they stylize and the way that they write, and then immediately my brain goes, I love this music, so there's a solid possibility I'm going to be into something else that they've done, and then I find every other band they've been a part of.
And then
then in those bands, I find other people because, as you know, musicians, a lot of times, it's kind of like holding a, like Mick Jagger said this one time. If you want to know what it's like being a musician, it's like holding together a marriage of 5 dudes, and most of them are addicted to something. So, but you get really close with people, and you spend a lot of time with people, and usually you don't spend a lot of time with people you can't stand in the local scene.
Yeah, yeah.
On a national level, if what you are is a hired gun, if what you are is an entertainer, and you are a professional, and you get hooked up with a big outfit, there's a big money behind it, there's a machine that's putting this thing out there.
Yeah.
You know, that's a whole different lifestyle.
Yeah.
You can make do with people who have wildly different politics.
Yeah,
you can
of
make
course.
do with people who have entirely different backgrounds and thoughts and feelings, because they're not really close friends of yours. Some bands do it, and that's awesome.
Right.
But a lot of bands don't do that. You go on tour, you do the thing, you take the checks, you go home.
Yeah.
In the local scene,
It's not like that. You got to be close.
You got
to be close.
It's hard getting along with somebody for free
But-
that you just can't stand.
But maybe, people should look at it that professional way a little bit more and not be be more about the music and make the music. Be friends, of course, but you have to really get along.
Do you think that kind of agitation within a band would help fuel good creative endeavor, or do you think it would stymie?
Well, no, there's always got to be some friction between people. There's always going to be. It's finding ways to work it out, and like any relationship building, the more that you can express and say, okay, this is the way that I'm feeling about this. Like anything in life. You have a relationship with you've plenty of relationships.
Yeah, sure.
with people.
Currently, I have
And you manage those relationships with each and everybody differently,
sure.
right? But that's the way it is in a band, except you're like that 4-3 to 1 ratio all the time. But then the dynamics get more intricate.
I suppose right now I'm in one of those weird relationships where no, everything's just great.
Yeah.
We talk and everything is good.
Yeah.
I mean, within Cursed on Earth, we all know what we do and how we do it, and there's no rub.
And you guys are
really enjoy
more
each
than
other.
just you are family.
Yeah.
It's having that family type
They're
thing.
brothers.
Yeah.
At this, and we protect it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that I guess I inherently stick to is surround myself with people that I can work with and that I enjoy and that I can trust, and I'm trying to do that with Seacoast Entertainer even right now and building this nonprofit.
It's difficult too.
Let's hit on that, because
Okay.
Seacoast Entertainer is something that you started to kind of have this
Place-
presence,
right.
that would be able to put out. I'll let you do it in your words,
Right,
but I'll speak to what it's turning into, what it is, but I think it's pretty close to what you wanted.
When it started, it was going to be an e-zine, because I didn't have a lot of resources. It was just me. I mean, I put an advertisement for you in that thing.
I remember
that?
taking out an ad in the Seacoast Entertainer. Yeah, I
And
remember.
so, it was just to make people aware of what's going on inside the scene that you wouldn't get on the newspaper.
Yeah.
Because the newspaper, maybe didn't cover a lot of these smaller bands or the underground kind of.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you know what I
something
mean?
that has been lacking, but sort of in a way there, but not really. It's not really that there's been a local media covering. There has been a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
But I
yeah.
think we've rounded them up now, and they're
Yeah.
with Seacoast Entertainer.
Yeah.
They were with Seacoast Media Group. They've been
Right.
with Wire, I think was another one.
Wire was great, yeah.
There have been some really great.
I think we're going to do something
Efforts.
for us. I mean, I want to cover the guys who are struggling to make it,
Yes.
want to get to that next level and don't know how.
Doing it,
and
though.
we need to be like, oh, yeah, you're doing good. Do that. Here's what other people are doing.
Yeah.
This is where
The-
you can turn to.
Access for everybody.
Just give people the help. I know I could have used it.
Yeah.
You met me.
Here's the thing, though. I think that's a dangerous thing to simply say everybody gets in no matter what.
No. But the people who are really working.
If you're working at it, if you're doing something, if you're trying to, if you're simply seeking attention, man, am I the wrong person to try to go through?
No, but
Possibly-
I'm looking for the entertainers,
Yeah.
the people who have the ideas.
Doing
and
it,
need to
doing something.
Right.
Turning whatever it is, your voice, into something. Because there's a lot of people doing that, and they're not getting much visibility, because honestly, there's really been a major failure by anyone trying to run media in the area to actually cover in a meaningful way the arts community, which here specifically is just something special. It's something I've talked about a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I've lived a bunch of places. And including Manhattan, three different places outside in Queens. There's nothing like the seacoast of New Hampshire, and again extending a little bit into Maine, a little bit
Of
into
course.
Massachusetts.
A tiny bit.
Now there's incredible musicians everywhere. I'm not saying that this is somehow like a mecca, like everyone's coming here, but per capita, man, there's really something unique. I think about the population density of really world-class musicians who could literally be running the circuit in any major city, in any major metro media hub, but they choose to be surrounded by lobster pots and trees rather than skyscrapers.
Wouldn't it be cool if we got this to the point where we could, help organize it enough? Because I think that what we want, to a certain extent, is that organization to build this music scene.
Well, that's exactly what. So
to get people out there to see the people that aren't on, haven't already made it. They're not already on tour.
yeah. So you mentioned where it came from.
Sure.
I'll say something about where it's going, where we're trying to bring it to. Seacoast Entertainer, with various specific elements that I've pulled into it since turning it into a nonprofit in 2021. The best thing that Seacoast Media Group had going for it was a writer named Christopher Hislop.
Sure. Yeah.
Chris Hislop has been a devoted follower and supporter of the music and greater arts community of the Seacoast and beyond, but very much an incredible writer, heartfelt, someone that sounds like or feels like you're talking to a close friend, someone you can really trust.
Right.
And he is someone who has always looked out for the little guy. You're not necessarily a big household name. You're not going to have a giant draw, but he's there letting everyone know that he sees something special.
Right.
He's our editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
So when it comes to covering and talking about, I wouldn't trust anyone more than him. So as far as writers and contributors, all of that we're going to look to do and have a very large media hub that is fed by and benefited by the musicians and the artists of the Seacoast. So when ad spend happens, it doesn't go into a private person's pocket. It goes back into the community. It goes directly to Seacoast Entertainer, who's a nonprofit that has the mission to support local music and arts. So all of the ad spend, anything that local businesses put into this so that they can say, we too support the community, it all goes directly back into the community. So kind of making a machine that feeds itself every time goodwill and sentiment comes out about the community. It goes directly back into it. Now, Seacoast music scene being under the umbrella of Seacoast Entertainer is specific to music. Seacoast Entertainer is not going to be specific to music.
No, we already help cover the Kidry Art Association.
This is where, however, I'm not going to mistake the fact that the community that has come up around all of this, where this started, the origin, therefore the vast majority of people following it are music fans and musicians. And I think, so that's where we're going to be heavy.
Yeah, of course.
At first, but
I hope. I know a lot of great artists out there in many ways. I mean, even Ryan. Ryan is a smith.
Ryan Walters is a freakishly talented and brilliant person.
I mean, the rings that he makes, that's
his
awesome.
Jewelry is stuff of legend, but his welding abilities, very few people realize it. He's for a long time been a secret weapon of our military-industrial complex.
Wow.
Like
he knows how to
he's for a long time he is the creme de la creme. He's the cream of the crop, top notch when it comes to welding and making things possible with metal that shouldn't be possible. And the thing is, people from one industry that look at his stuff and the other industry that look at his stuff from the other, the jewelry people are like, oh my God, how is that possible? And then people from the other world look at the jewelry stuff and they're like, how do you even do that?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I make tools that allow me to do things that don't seem conceivable. Like, he's obviously an artist.
Yes. Yeah.
So to hear him talk about, and like, that's perfect example. There could be a whole page
yes.
dedicated to all of the different things.
Are you having Ryan on this?
So, Secret Time, Ryan has been on already. Ryan was one of the first podcasts
Actually,
filmed,
yes,
but it was with the mobile setup. It
Yes.
wasn't with this beautiful PPM
We're still
TV
using it,
studios. We may use it, or I may just have him in here to do another one. He and I, when we get talking, ask my wife, we talk for 3-4 hours, forget what time it is, and then I'm
Yeah,
showing
it's-
up at 1 a.m. in the morning, and it's like, well, rehearsal ended, and then we got talking about
Other things.
something
Yeah.
having to do with timing on Cursed on Earth, and then something about timing led us to something, and then we're just talking about overall philosophy and life outlook, and like, we just talk. So
Yeah.
having him in here to do another one is
You know.
definitely going to happen.
Here they are. Without these folks, taking Seacoast Entertainer to the next levels wouldn't be happening. Not to this scale. Tangram 3DS actively supports our music and arts scene and has proudly been part of it for the last 20 years. Their creative pros bring vision to life with everything from 3D renderings and VR to video, animation, web design, and branding. As a team of artists living and working on the Seacoast, Tangram considers a thriving local culture essential to us all for the connections we make, communities we build, and creativity we foster. Visit tangram3ds.com to learn more, see their work, and imagine what they can do for you.
That is one I really miss, being able to hang out and see you guys. It's getting better.
Standing beside a brick wall.
Are you guys playing a show soon?
We will be playing a private party soon. August 15th, we're playing at
What about
Mr.
a public
Sippy.
party?
You may be able to swing into that one. I think it's a private party, but it's at a public place.
Okay.
So it's at Mr. Sippy Barbecue.
I can't say.
Do you know it? It's in
No.
Rochester.
I don't go up there that much.
Yeah, there's a local politician aspiring. I think he's held position before. Executive council, something.
Is it Anthony?
Emmett Soldati.
Oh, I've heard the name.
He has
He has a venue?
well, he's the creator of Teetotaler, and that's where Cursed on Earth
I have met him.
played many, many times.
Yes, no.
That was one
I
of our
met him.
favorite.
I believe I met him. I think
Great
it was,
guy. Really
Wasn't
incredible
he
guy.
there when I went to Teetotaler with you in
Probably.
Courtney that one time?
Probably.
Yeah, I believe that was
It was in Somersworth. And now it's in Concord, right next to
Dover.
the State House, and Dover.
And Dover.
Dover opened up after, there's a flaming wasp nest to whack right out of the gate on
What are
the,
we
on the
talking about?
podcast.
Where are we going?
Oh my God. So Adele's
Oh, yes. And then they...
was sold
Yes.
to Cafe Killam.
Yeah, and that didn't go well for some reason.
It
but
didn't?
there was... I don't know.
There's a
I
discrepancy
don't know
that
if I wanted it.
happened between the employees
Mm.
who were all trying to unionize, and when I say all, I mean 4 employees,
Yeah.
maybe 5, 3 at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think there's this idea that if you quote unionize, it means you have ultimate say over the people who own the business.
No, that's
which
not
is
true.
puzzling that like it be used in that kind of a way. Union used to be a really strong and fantastic thing, and then it just kind of like it turned into a weapon.
I don't know.
It's just weird. Anyways, the whole thing came crashing down,
And then Teetotaler picked it up, right?
and Teetotaler ended up with it. I mean, I have my own feelings on how it went down and what happened, and I think Nova skated away just in time.
They have art on the walls there, don't they? Local artists.
They,
I think I saw some pieces up.
you know
It would
what?
be an interesting place if they did.
I was literally just there, and I don't remember.
That's... okay. Well,
Teetotaler does support
yeah,
local arts.
they sure do.
I know
It's
that.
too small for music, really. Unless it was like a single guy playing guitar. But I don't know if they would be in that.
Actually, as far as playing, I don't think they're doing that. They
You know
were
what
in Concord.
Well, thinking of Dover, like the Dover that is now. I stopped in Dover the other day,
Okay.
and it feels a lot less music-y and artsy than it used to.
Boy, howdy, you are not wrong.
And so I really want to figure out what we can do to help that.
So
if I
I moved to Dover in 1999 for college. I moved to the Seacoast from Concord area,
yeah,
Canterbury specifically.
I think we met shortly after. It's like a year or two.
The second time. So I came down, and then after graduating from college, I went to New York. I was living in New York for a few years.
Oh.
And I had decided I wasn't staying in New York. I had a midlife crisis at 21. I was making great money, more than I should have been making at the time. I was doing stupid things with money rather than being smart.
That happens when you're young.
Youth, it's fine.
Yes.
I decided to go back to music because I didn't want to swim with the sharks that I was surrounded by.
You know, I have a similar story.
Yeah? I bet you do. I bet we've had this story before.
Well,
Why don't you tell me yours?
I was in college
Yeah.
at Wentworth Institute. I had a 3.8 grade point average.
Look at you with the big old brain swinging.
But then after 9/11, I walked, well, that day I kind of walked through town, and it was like really, that eerie. Like everybody was a little bit afraid. And I was walking, I'm like, what am I doing here? This isn't what I want to be. And so, not even 2 weeks later, I left school and went and started playing guitar and started that dream.
I went further down.
I know.
I went from out of college to New York to selling to very, very large corporations technology solutions that enabled them to do things that they shouldn't be allowed to do,
I know.
or to get away with doing things that they shouldn't have done.
Oh,
You can make great money doing it.
I'm sure.
But cashing those checks, knowing these people are going to avoid SEC fines, these people are going to escape FTC lawsuits, like all of the things that go along with.
Right. Because you don't want to be a part of that kind of corrupt
I don't.
feeling situation.
No, I was literally I was invited by a partner company, a high-ranking person from that company, to go with him for a lunch at the Harvard Club in the middle of Manhattan. It was just literally, it is what it sounds like. It's the Harvard Club.
Right.
Wood doors, leather, everything. Steve Ballmer was talking. There were a handful of other CEOs and industry powerhouse people. Mm-hmm. And he invited me to just come and hobnob and talk. And I did. And I'm decently okay at talking when it comes to technology stuff and schmoozing. And at that point, I had a master's in sales.
Right.
So, which doesn't exist. And I'll say this every single time. If there were a sales degree and a sales master that you could do in this country, the entirety of the way that business operates in the United States and around the world would come collapsing down. Because if every single person in the world could know, because they took classes, and now they know what a sales pitch sounds like, when somebody's selling them, when somebody's manipulating them, if everybody knew that, business would end. The way that it's being done anyway. It would completely upend the entire world if everybody knew what a trial close was. You know what I mean? Like, always be selling. If you knew that a person, like you...
I think I left a corporate job for similar reasons.
Yeah.
Because, man...
Did you notice the same thing? At a certain level, maybe it has to exist this way, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's all sociopaths. But at a certain level, the people that I was talking to, you could see nothing in their eyes. It was like looking into the eye of a shark. It was just dark. And really thinking back about it, I can't even I was standing feet from these men's faces. I can't to this day remember the color of their eyes. It just, in my mind, it's just black. I was just staring into blackness. And it was after that day that I was like, oh, those are not people that I want to be around.
Yeah, I think I spent 5 years at that kind of corporate job, but I had to. I needed to make the money. The kids were little.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Right. I needed it.
That's the thing, isn't it?
I couldn't do it.
Are you willing to trade for money?
And it made me a worse person. And I have since escaped, and I feel much better now. Like I think I learned to treat people better just by not being in that position.
Well, isn't that kind of the thing?
Right.
Once you know how bad it can be, like the people who hurt the most usually are the first to smile. and they're trying to make other people feel happy and good about themselves because they know how bad you can feel about yourself at times.
That didn't make me happy. I'm glad that I've turned and gotten back
Yeah.
to doing that. I mean, kids will do that. Will get you away from the
You have 2
artwork.
kids.
Yeah.
So as a
Excellent.
musician,
And
you
then-
start run it back. You were driving around flyering. You make Seacoast Music Scene with the idea that now people have a place online
Yeah.
to put posters, advertise shows, meet up with each other.
Yeah,
I'm
do the
a
groups
keyboard player and I'm looking for a drummer. Here are
Right.
some sample tracks.
Yep.
And so that becomes like kind of an online social bulletin board,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Seacoast Entertainer starts as an e-zine, and you have the idea of having some written pieces,
Yeah.
some local advertising.
Yeah.
Would you call it album reviews? I hate the
Yeah.
term.
I mean,
I don't like critics of art.
No, I don't want to be a critic. I just
But-
want to see, hey, this is something that I believe in. This is why I believe in.
Check out this thing
Yeah,
that's
check
coming
out
out.
this
Cool.
thing that's coming out.
So
But
those things become sometime around 2015. You disappear for just a little bit out
Yeah,
to
sure
the,
do.
the woods of Lee
yeah,
to make future Don Vitos.
yeah, yeah.
And now there are 2 little.
Eslin and Emiliano. They're so good.
They're so what?
They're so good.
You think they're good?
I think
you
they're
think
good.
they're cool?
You should see
You
Emiliano.
think they're awesome?
You
I
should
bet you
see
do.
Emiliano play some drums.
They're hilarious.
Oh, they're great.
They're hilarious. They're
Yeah.
good kids. They're sweet kids.
But yeah, like then so we were at where I started it, and then you were able to take it and
So, yeah.
really start to grow things.
2015.
Because I couldn't moderate it. I could not keep up with it. I was drowning in diapers. Like, there's just no way.
So perfectly
like,
appropriately,
right.
I take a break from the club circuit. I'd been playing a lot in
Yeah, you did.
Massachusetts, Boston, Haverhill. I was the house drummer at the Chit Chat Lounge Tuesday nights. Incredible open mic hosted by Bob Beal.
Yeah.
It was the kind of open mic where every single Tuesday, most of the bands didn't have a show that night. So
course.
it was the weekly hang. All the
Right.
bands would show up. I would bring my kit. I let everybody use my kit. Or I would sit in with anybody that wanted to. And so there was like this huge mixer of musicians. But I was playing a lot down in that scene. And I was gigging with a band called Division Tree.
I remember this.
And I got tired, very, very tired of promoters and club owners. And it was like an unspoken pay-to-play where you had to commit to a certain number of tickets.
Yeah.
And if you didn't sell all of the tickets, you bought those tickets and you just didn't make anything. So once you got to a certain level, they would promise to pay you out a certain amount after the night. But there was always some reason, it became clear if someone else is holding your money, you're going to have to fight for every dollar, even if it is yours. If you're the one holding the money, you then decide to either keep it or to give it away. But the power in the musician being the one who sets everything up is the money's going to you, and then
Right.
you don't have to beg for it from the promoter. So I left and just disappeared for like 2 years. I came back around 2014, late 15, took over Seacoast Music Scene, and because I knew the daunting pile of train wreck
Oh, yeah.
that it was like a wasteland of
Well, yeah, I had no time to
DJ
keep up with
advertising
that,
and karaoke and I mean,
But it could, and you turned it around into something.
it
that
had
was
something
like,
that it could become.
Right.
And it was about high 800s, low 900s of total people. Most of it wasn't being, there wasn't a lot of interaction. I mean, when you look at the group stats, total interactions, posts per day,
Yeah.
and all of that.
I don't think I looked at it back then, but I did look now. I mean,
It was super low.
right now it's very healthy.
Well, right now there's a community behind it,
Yeah.
and it's because
It's
there are
very
very
healthy.
simple rules. Everybody gets treated the exact same. Everything that
Yeah.
gets posted is in support of the community or a show that's going on here within the community. And if you break the number one rule, which is don't be a dick, you get tossed. As I have in the group rules, the band hammer swings freely. Like, you got to be careful of that thing.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
get paid for this.
Right.
You don't get paid for this.
No, not yet.
So there's never going to be money in this. But no, like this. So if you were in it to support others and to be a good person, you're going to have a great time. If you're in it to try and angle and like fight for attention and sabotage and backs. None of that is going to be tolerated. So
No.
it's a very healthy, supportive, active. And the thing that I think really sets the time that we're living in right now, aside from like the 90s, early 2000s, I've heard it described as the cutthroat is gone, the internet killed it. Like there used to be gatekeepers.
Oh,
And there was only so many slots. You needed
Right.
to do the things so that you could get support, so that you end up on a network, and they were only doing so many shows this year.
Okay, yeah.
Or-
But now you can post anywhere as long as you attract
Anyone's a
the
creator.
eyeballs. Right.
You just do what you're doing and
Yeah.
put it out there. If people are vibing with it, they follow it and
Right.
they support it.
Right.
Where it used to be like you have access to Roseanne this night.
Oh yeah, right.
You have access to Saturday Night Live
Saturday
at this
night.
time. You have access to Johnny Carson at this time.
Right, right.
Johnny Carson was simulcast on 3 networks. Can you think of that? 3 networks at the same time were that he was the guy.
Yeah.
So he was the most
Powerful.
watched, he was the most powerful.
Yeah.
He would make or break somebody. Now there's people with millions of people following them on a daily basis, and all they do is show their ass. Like, how ridiculous
It's-
a culture have we become that a content creator doesn't have to have any merit or anything interesting to contribute. So the idea is maybe the people who do have something to contribute, if you put the right thing in place, people will engage and support and come out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of what we're trying to do here with Seacoast Music Scene, Seacoast Entertainer, is create that thing
Yeah.
that the more good and the more creative people you feed into it, with them, of course, retaining all of the rights, this is new, to
Right.
all of their own stuff, novel concept, the more you support, the more everybody comes up.
I one thing I'd like to be able to do is to create, and this is a later on down the line, is to create a marketplace for the local music, like not like a maybe an iTunes type of thing where you download only local music and you get their merch, and it's through we just try to facilitate it for other
Like
people.
a distributorship?
I don't know, just
Because
to
if you can-
just to link people into like I don't know.
No, not a
I
bad-
wonder what that would look like.
Not a bad concept.
I wonder-
because if they go through iTunes,
You have to
if
pay
they go
so
through
much to.
Bandcamp, a piece of it gets taken
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the ability to be on that platform.
Just
But really,
just a conduit.
yeah. I mean,
wonder-
and that's fine for when you're trying to reach people that are forever away. But if
Yeah.
you're looking to support specifically local music, yeah, I like that idea.
Because
the
I-
archive is going to have that essentially.
Because I mean, music. I don't know what you get paid to play. I don't.
much.
I'm not actively gigging right yet. I'm hoping to get back there. But you're gigging.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you guys are making. I know that it's probably not enough to live on it.
No, God, no, not even
God,
close.
no, not even close.
No. In order to
But
be a
if-
working musician, so there's different tiers. Not even tiers. It's just different ways of living life.
Like,
There are local musicians who do make a living playing music, but what they have to do is they need to treat it like it's a sales job, and they're selling themselves and what they can do. So they sell themselves to a bunch of different bands, and
Sure.
all those bands book a whole bunch of shows, and everybody gets a piece. But at the same time, you're recording because you need to be putting out music so that people can be buying that also, because
Yeah.
you get a piece of that also.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's just this and this and this and this and this and this. And if you do a ton of stuff, you might have enough to eke out a living if you have a stable partner.
like, I know you or Cursed on Earth have music on some of the major channels,
Yeah.
right? Do you guys ever see a nickel
Royalty checks?
royalty?
Yeah, every couple of months.
Get a couple.
$10.
$10. Hey,
Yeah,
that's
every-
okay.
But we split it 3 ways.
I mean,
No, we don't actually take it out.
No, you
The
might as
thing,
well
the only
leave
way the way that I do this
Yeah.
anyway, and the only way that I stay able to do this, I fall much more on the side of the arts. I don't treat my interaction with the arts as a business. I make my money outside of the arts so that I don't
As-
have to worry
as
about
we all do.
making sure that it's commercially viable.
But, I
Which
mean-
is an avenue, and that's fine. I used to begrudge, but I don't. It's
Yeah.
hard getting through life, and people make whatever decisions
yeah.
they feel are the most appropriate for them at a time. But I think Cursed on Earth is particularly weird. Like, if you were to say, name something that it sounds like, it would be like me asking you to name something that Primus sounds like. It's different.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. That to me is fun, and that's engaging. And it's, if we hear something and it sounds like something that reminds us of something else, we know it's time to change that part. Like we walk away from anything that sounds like something that somebody
Yeah.
has done. The way that I approach playing drums with Cursed on Earth is so the opposite of pop. It's really,
Yeah,
it's my love of prog and the weirdly complicated. You know, it's the Danny Carey in me. It's it's less the Josh Freese in me. The Josh Freese in me, no matter what you're feeling at any time, you're going to go, oh my God, this drummer's on it.
Right.
Like, you're ready to engage. Whereas people, I see them in the crowd all the time. They like what they're hearing, and their feet are tapping, and I kind of smile on the inside because I'm like, that's not going to last long. You have no idea what's coming. And then there's a bar with 4.5, and then it's right back to 6/8. But then at the bridge, it goes to 10/4, and then back to 6/8. And then there's a part where, you know, it's so that the signature just keeps changing based on me not wanting to interfere with what Ryan and Justin have written. They don't write a standard and typical way.
Right.
They hear things coming from the I almost said the internet, from
The ether.
From the ether.
Yeah.
And they've tapped into the creative flow that they're speaking directly to the muse, or the muse is speaking through them anyway. And they write stuff, and it sounds amazing. I am such a fan of Cursed on Earth music. I can't believe I get to write drum parts to it.
Right.
And I can't believe that they allow me the freedom to do the type of drumming to their music that I do, because
Just do it.
They're like, oh, we don't care if you change the sound and all of that. Like, have fun.
We're gonna do your part. You know, that is really important for
It's
creating
so
with
freeing.
each other. You know,
But I don't pretend like this is something that your average pop listener is going to be like, oh my God, I'm wicked into this.
Right.
Because you can't just tune out and tap along.
You know, I wish there were more of the. What was the name of the jam thing that you were?
Jam of Legends.
Jam of Legends.
There's going to be more.
Because that's like, you know, if you just show up, do what you do. Just do.
Communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Have an open mind.
Yeah, just go right in.
Be willing to.
I'm so bummed that we lost the video from the one that I came and sang at. The second or third one, I don't know which one, but
I'm going to have to go back and look, because I think I may have retained it. I think I may have it.
I would love to see that. I had a night that night.
You did. You were on.
I was so on, and I felt so good to be back on stage. And it was like, yeah, I need to keep doing this.
It felt good to have you back on stage, man.
Like, because I forgot who that was for a little while.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
you forgot who the person on stage was, or you forgot that he was a person.
I forgot that I could be there,
You forgot you could be there.
like in the moment, you know. And and there's a you've heard that flow when you're in that flow
Oh yeah.
state.
Oh yeah.
You know,
It's my favorite.
everybody's favorite, I think.
I
If,
think
if
so.
they experience it.
You don't want to walk away from it
No,
when it's happening.
ever. When it's happening, and I've had that creative juice. A lot of inspiration from some people in my life, and I get to that realization that if you are aware and you are in yourself, and you are able to emit that, and that was one of those nights where I was just emitting, and I could feel it.
That's a thing about you that I really, the first time I met you, I knew that I was speaking to somebody that was very, very different than the way that most people are and operate.
Oh, I'm an emotional person.
Emotional, yes, but the question is really, people refer to emotional maturity, and they I think a lot of times inaccurately say that a person is emotionally in tuned because they are very emotional. Emotional intelligence is the ability to exist within and above yourself at any time, being triggered by any number of emotional input or stimuli.
Yeah, right.
And control a response so that your brain has time to catch up with your instinct. And I think your brain catching up with your instinct is a thing that a lot of people who don't have high emotional intelligence don't realize they're missing because you don't know what you don't know. But once you know what emotional intelligence is, and you know that it's the ability to control your emotions so that you're not flying off, so that your brain can do the work to catch yourself up, so that you can see a situation playing out, you can control yourself.
Absolutely.
That is high emotional intelligence. Flying off the handle is the opposite of emotional intelligence. It's chaos.
It sure is.
So
I
I hope people far and wide start really becoming very self-critical and saying, if I have very vivid emotional responses, it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily doing something right. I don't think you should necessarily be embarrassed until you know that the sign of a person who flies off the handle quickly is the sign of a person who has low emotional IQ and doesn't work on the ability to control their emotions. I don't think it's a detriment to your cause to be able to handle
A wide range.
your ideas
Right.
and other incoming ideas in a calm and concise and well articulated response kind of a manner. It makes the world that much more malleable to your ideas and your philosophies and your beliefs. If you need to use force, your political ideas are incorrect, is kind of the way that it's always been described. Like if you need to, your ideas are terrible if nobody will adopt them without someone pointing a gun at them. Like if that's what you have to do,
No, that's not the right thing.
your ideas are the wrong ones. You
Right.
know, everybody getting along, everybody looking out for each other, and you know that we're pack animals, humans.
Yeah.
And in that, we have the microcosm of Seacoast music scene. Yeah, no. Everything doesn't have to tie back around to Seacoast music scene, but
It does.
This is to me. This is it though.
No,
because
no,
really,
because,
how many hours have we spent talking to each other, standing right next to a brick wall outside of the brick house? Rest in
Yeah,
peace.
I know, right?
All of the different music venues where you get that ability to just stand and converse with people
Just
that are on a different path.
Right.
They're walking a different path. They see the world and they hear things and they interpret and they process differently.
You've done a lot of writing in your time. Yeah, handwritten writing. And
Lots, yeah.
I am probably on par with the amount of writing that you've
Yeah.
done. I think a big part of me and who I became and who I am now is that I spent a lot of time just going through myself in writing and trying to figure out life
Sure.
through thought,
Yeah.
right? So, you're trying to...
Vulnerability. You're exploring your ideas and
Right. And
trying to pick yourself apart. Am I right here? Am I wrong here?
like any poet,
Yeah.
right? They're trying to paint the picture or understand or shed understanding that they might have.
Paint little bridges.
Right, little bridges.
Yeah. Happy little bridge.
I was thinking
Nice
Bob
happy
Ross
little
for a
bridge
second.
right over here.
But I think that the time that I spent doing that was like going through any like, I'm sure you've had difficult times in your life.
No, never. What are
never.
those?
Yeah, right. But when
Everything's
you're going
perfect.
through that, everything is awesome.
Always. Everything is awesome.
But when you're going through that kind of stuff and you're trying to figure out how to say it, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, and now I have a more understanding and I know what I want to say about these situations more often, and I've come to be able to get into that thought flow.
Oh, are you going to make some pretty heavy political
No,
statements right now?
no,
Are you
no,
about to
no.
drop some bombs,
No,
Tony V?
no, but
Get controversial, man.
no.
What do you really think about babies? Oh, you've
they're
had two,
cute.
and you raised them, and you love them, and
Yeah.
you are such a sweetheart.
They're good kids. You should see this video of Emiliano and then Ezzy. They're both trying to play the drums. They're just... they have totally different styles.
I might be psycho.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think I've brained it.
You might think I'm crazy.
You might think I'm crazy. No, but for some reason, people send me videos of kids playing drums.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. It's the most aggravating thing because they're like,
doing
look how
it-
great
Why?
he is.
Is
And
that
I'm like,
because
man,
they're doing it all wrong?
It's even the kids that are like really skilled at what they're doing. It sounds like a kid that you've taught to say a bunch of big words.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't know what he's saying. His brain isn't even formed yet.
You'd be surprised how smart they are.
I know that kids are smart, but we also know, being learned people, that the human brain doesn't stop developing
Yeah.
until about 25, and then it starts sliding back. No, the prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed until about 25 years old. So this concept, this notion that people are adults at 18, that's nonsense. That was developed by a bunch of people that want to send kids to war because kids are malleable. So they send 18-year-olds because that's the age. But that's basically, I mean, that's people who want war. How many 35-year-olds are enlisting because they're like, oh, I got to go fight for
Oh, I don't know.
oil?
I don't
You're
know.
fighing for oil. You're fighting for banks. You're fighting for all kinds of
Not
nonsense.
me. I never
Not you.
wanted to.
No, not you.
Not a military son.
No.
No.
Let me run this by you. Did you see things in any kind of, I'll lay it out rather than asking sideways. The way that I look at the world is always through a very analytical lens.
Yeah, I know that about you.
Very much.
And I've asked you things about, like, how you think about this thing that I'm thinking about.
This connects to this, ties to this because of this and that and that. That's the way that my head works.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I was young, and I come from a family that has lots of military background. So of course the question is, this young, healthy, athletic male, naturally he's going to go into the service and serve his country, right? From a very young age. Thank you, Zach De La Rocha, Rage Against the Machine, for opening my eyes to the idea that sometimes there are actors within the FBI, believe it or not, who aren't necessarily good people. The government sometimes lies to us. Did you realize this?
No.
Sometimes they're not honest.
What are
I
you
know.
talking
I know what you're going to think. You're thinking to yourself, Sean, you're getting crazy now.
No. I mean, it's kind of obvious. But
So, from a young age, I started taking a look at things very differently, and I didn't want to get tricked ever again. I didn't like the idea that I didn't see it, you know? And that's when way before there was a term social justice warrior, I was the guy that was like, I'm not celebrating Thanksgiving anymore. I know what this nonsense is.
You know what-
Columbus Day is absolute horseshit.
You know
I'm not
what?
doing Columbus
You know what
Day.
made me upset?
What's that?
Weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass
Oh my
destruction.
God, that was
How is it?
I used to
Oh.
write a lot in that vein. I try to stay away from policy stuff because I'm at the point I barely care. I don't.
No,
wanna-
for real though.
But
like,
weapons of mass destruction just made me mad.
how is it that
I didn't understand that. It was so obvious that.
now? I'm not an Alex Jones fan.
I don't know
I-
who that is. I
He's,
know
he's a
I've heard of
conspiracy
him.
guy. He's
Okay.
constantly trying to find conspiracies in everything. And sometimes he says crazy things like there's a guy named Epstein and he has an island and he flies a bunch of rich people there and they all have sex with children. You know, crazy stuff that could never possibly be. And then other times he says things that are just absolute nonsense. So I've always kind of seen him as like a disinformationist, where some of the things he says are completely correct.
Right.
But most of what he says is wild nonsense, because people above would necessarily want things that are accurate being said by a person who says nonsense most of the time, so that people just say that thing that is actually correct and we don't want anybody looking at, that's nonsense, because all that guy does is say nonsense. It helps very powerful, corrupt people to have a bit more cover when a crazy person says, you're not going to believe this, but the CIA is running drugs and paying for wars. That's it's the Contras. So, yeah. Our government, not our government, but there are operators within our government that were doing terrible things. That happens constantly. So I don't like the idea of just saying they have our best interests at heart. They're trying their best. I'm constantly looking at and analyzing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably the same in every country to a greater or lesser extent at the same time.
I'd argue it's probably similar but different.
Oh, similar, like, yeah.
Yeah, unless you're in England, unless you're in Israel, the countries that are very in line with what our military wants typically that's, you look on the other side of the gun and you find out who bought the bullets. So really the banks at the top are the ones who are messing with all of us. But it's at the point of a gun. So if you're in a powerful country that has lots of money and lots of resource and lots of military power, like the United States, you would say that the system is probably similar but different in that if you're from somewhere else, yes, our CIA has been messing with your elections. They're trying to make sure that the people that are the most friendly with our way of life or the Western ideologies or whatever are going to win. So they make sure that the right people are in play. But we follow along with this idea that they would never do it here. Not in the United States. They're patriots. They'd never mess with our elections. They'd never mess with our populace. When what's actually really happening is we are subjected to the worst propaganda that has ever happened. In Germany, they knew it was propaganda, right? Here, how many people think that the whole Russiagate thing was real? Like they still to this day think that there was no lab leak. This came from a pangolin. There are people who believe wholeheartedly.
I actually don't know exactly. I've heard of that. I don't know anything more about it.
It's wild.
But
all I'm saying is there's a lot of propaganda here that people are like, well, that's news because it came from a network.
After that 9/11 phase, and I was writing a lot, I did start having the idea for, and you've heard this before, the West India Company.
West India Company,
I
remember that.
And the idea behind that was that the India companies were like the first corporations or something like that, right? They were the first incorporated.
And they were
machine.
Were they Dutch or were they English?
They were all those, like Dutch, English.
But
sure.
But
the idea,
East India Trading Company, was that
the
the actual name of one of them?
Yes, East India. There was the Dutch. You can look it up. There's several East and West, and they would just trade with the things. And I think my idea behind it was that the colonies, became the 13 colonies, kind of broke free of England. And they became their own thing, and that was the West India Company, because our nation is a corporate nation. We are...
from the start, yeah.
Yeah, we are a corporate nation. And is that right or wrong? I'm not to say, but it's kind of... That's not what I'm trying to portray in the ideas that I have for that band. It's that this is the way that corporate runs, right? And I just wanted, no matter what the... You know that one song that kind of has that pirate kind of sound to it? Pirates we are, yes are we?
Yeah.
Cast our bow into the sea. But it's that feeling of the pirate corporate thing is kind of aligned in a way.
Do you remember a couple bars of it?
I'd probably read it. I'll read the words from that, because that is kind of. Give me 1 second. And you actually played that song with me a couple times.
I have played it with you
but it's
at
been
least a couple of times.
Time.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites. It would come out at the open mic that you ran at the Brick House.
Yes, from time to time. But I
think we may have performed it somewhere else.
Okay. All right, so this is called Welcome, and in parens, the company. So, welcome to the West Indies. We got everything you need. Incorporate the pride and wealth and greed. We know what you want, and you will see. We are the West India Company. Oh, pirates are, yes are we, cast our bow into the sea for gold and wealth, and sometimes just for a little hell. Only time will tell our story. We are the West India Company. Now, why you may have Now, why you may ask, have we come to amass, or wonder o'er the will of our creed? Hoisting our sails to the mast for years and years have we traversed, and led by imperial decree, we are the West India Company. This is the last verse. Oh, say by say, can't you see, the color struck as we besiege? Our reach is deep and wide and vast, and we are slow and sure and fast. We are the West India Company. And for me, that's just about this corporate capitalist thing that we are.
Yeah.
And not trying to be too judgmental, but here, this is what it looks like to me. What do you think? What's your interpretation?
So yours is to illuminate and then spark a discussion, but not necessarily proclaim.
I don't want to be preachy. I just want to say, hey, what's
Hey,
this?
what about this?
Yeah, what's this?
Hey,
going
what
on?
about weapons of mass destruction?
Right.
I remember, what I was getting at when I said
they-
I don't really like Alex Jones, I don't follow Alex Jones, was he said some horrible lie. He got terrible information,
Okay.
you know, and then the whole Sandy Hook thing happened. He was
Oh.
completely wrong about a conspiracy theory. He
Okay.
hurt a lot of people.
Yeah,
A lot of people got harassed because of some nonsense that he said.
I'm vaguely aware.
But what he did not do was cause the death of millions of people overseas. He didn't spend trillions of dollars making the entire planet less safe. But who did? Dick Cheney, George W. Bush, Condoleezza Rice, and Ashcroft.
Oh, I don't know. I can't
The,
remember.
oh,
all
what's the
their
name
names.
of the Donald Rumsfeld? Like
Donald.
Colin Powell. They all lied to us, to our faces, and said, you know, weapons of mass destruction. Therefore, we have to go fight. People put their lives on the line. 18-year-old kids put their lives on the line to go fight for something that you're illustrating here correctly is a corporation. Even if they've been operating as a lie this whole time, and it is a corporation, it still rose the freest people ever
Yeah.
to prosperity, the fastest that any superpower has ever happened. So, is it worth it in the end?
Well,
That's a question for people that have been on the other end of our gun, evidently, because the whole rest of the world is we're the terrorists to them.
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
think,
there are
think-
other.
think about the Middle East. Who's the terrorists in the world? We call them terrorists, and they call them like this is where I live. I'm not going to let you just come in and destroy my country. So they don't have cool uniforms like us.
Yeah.
You know?
Are they any different?
But
Should we judge how they feel about us?
the point that I'm pointing at
Yeah.
is, sure, anytime somebody says something hurtful, they should be dealt with. If somebody does something that causes a lot of strife, they should be dealt with, including people that, I don't know, Hillary and Obama caused the fall of the most successful state in Africa, Libya, is just utterly destroyed by their lies and miscalculations. So an entire country falls. People die.
I don't know a lot about the background of that kind of stuff.
And nothing
But-
happens, man.
Yeah, I don't know what the story behind Libya or anything like
It's
that.
worth it. I don't want to get preachy right now on
Right.
it, but look into it.
Yeah.
Everybody should look it up because it's modern. It happened very, very recently, and the people that were responsible for the lie are just free to walk around and keep doing stuff. People are still listening to them,
Yeah,
like
I'm
there's some
not
kind of
sure.
an authority. I guess all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll have to read up on that.
I guess all I'm
just don't-
saying is the things that should be the most important are the way that we treat each other and the way that we communicate and the ideals that we live by and the things that we try to put out into the world. The only things worth emulating are things that help others
Yeah.
and make us all safer, more prosperous, lifting each other up. There's so many people looking to just cause havoc and tear the world apart
Right.
that
The arts kind of, and we can be those communicators.
can be.
Yes.
Arts can be a lot of things, though. I like
Music
the
can
fire.
save the world.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Like,
Because if you can save that person by understanding, or they see that you are going through something that they went through in their moment of need.
the thing that kicked me off on this tangent was Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Because,
Quite appropriately.
Right.
Art.
Mhm.
Completely changed my life.
Mhm.
And it was all about anger as a gift. Realizing that hatred will kill you. Hatred is a thing that burns inside of you and ruins you, but anger is a thing that motivates you. If you allow your anger to turn to hatred, you're only hurting yourself. If you
Oh.
allow your anger to motivate you
I
to...
like that thought. Right. Because we all feel
That's something that art
anger,
can do.
and we survive with anger. I mean, you have to have anger. You have to have sadness.
It's that fire.
Yeah. I mean, actually, my kids were watching one of the There's a new movie out, like a Pixar movie or something about
Okay.
your emotions, and
Oh, right. That's, what's the name of that? I don't remember.
in any case, not important. But like, I think if you can be emotionally available to yourself as well as to others, and have that bond, those friendships that you make, those relationships, that I want to be able to build the relationships of the artist, so that artist that is out there struggling doesn't feel so alone. At the same time, they're like, yeah, we've been through that, you can come to us.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know if you had a mentor when you were younger as a musician, but I certainly don't feel like I did. I feel like
A mentor.
right.
No, not. I mean, there's people that I look back on and I'm like, what? Whether or not I'm trying to emulate specific pieces of what they were,
I just want to encourage people
I don't
not
think I
to
had
be
anybody
right.
take me under their wing.
Right.
No, it was more you and I were leaning shoulder to shoulder on each other.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And figuring this thing out as we go, because there's sort of a path once you get into it if you're taking the industry side. But even there, most of it is you do better if you're not thinking too hard about it. You just kind of do what you're told. Unless you're a powerhouse like Dave Grohl or Taylor Swift, who literally runs the whole business.
Yeah.
Most people just go along, and I think that's a little bit different in the freelance kind of world, the local scene. I don't think there are a lot of mentors. There can be, but you have to find them in institution. Like you got to go to school to the UNH music department or PMAC or something.
I mean, I think friendships can act as mentorships. And
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, we have Nevin Brown with Seacoast Entertainer, who's producing right now, sitting over there. He's going to be running a mentorship
Right.
element within Seacoast Entertainer that I hope is going to do an awful lot to bring that kind of a big brother, big sister kind of thing in a way that is artist friendly.
Right. I mean, I just know that when I was in the darkest days, writing a lot but having very difficult life, I could have used somebody to be like, just to lend a hand, just to lend an ear to, and I went through a very tough time in my 20s, and somehow I made it out, and it was through the help of Ryan, through the help of you, Becky, and that whole bunch back in the day, just having belief in me, Yuri, all those people who believed in me.
Yeah.
And it said, keep going on, you're doing okay. And then having somebody to turn to. And even if you're not in a dire situation and you're just trying so hard and you don't know what to do next, sure, you can look it up online, but having somebody to be like, okay, here, if you're in this situation, you're creating your art, okay, you need to get some video, you need to get some pictures, you need to put up a website, here's where you should think about going.
Yeah.
This is what other people are doing, or just have that kind of a relationship where we can lend out, and I'm sure that Nevin's going to be able to do that for people quite well.
He's, I believe, going to take an awful lot from his professional life, which again is something that you think about it. If everybody just tried to live the starving artist life, we wouldn't end up with people who went and, I mean, the entire way that Seacoast music scene is set up, the rules of the group are, because if you follow them, it funnels you into doing best practices for gaining traction within the algorithm of Facebook. It's not just haphazard and it's not just made up. It's because I have a background in digital marketing and I know how the social media algorithms work. So if you just kind of follow along and take these hints that I'm pointing out to you, you'll get a lot of interaction.
Right.
You'll get a lot of visibility. Nevin has a professional background that suits him now, where he's going to create this new wing within Seacoast Entertainer because he's an artist who held a corporate job.
Yeah.
So where I went through that and ended up where I am. He went through what he did and ended up there. If both of us were just like, I'm gonna hang out on the street corner and busk, no digging that. I'm not knocking it at all.
No.
But if you don't make your entire life passion the thing that feeds you, you have a lot to bring into your art, because you're taking from outside experiences and things that you've done, life experience, and you're bringing it here. I would have never imagined that what I'm doing right now would be exactly what I'm doing.
No, I
mean,
don't even know how we
all
got
I'm
here.
trying to do is take elements of things that I think are good and helpful in the world and recreate them in a way that helps the people that are immediately around me. My thought on that is, if everybody simply did what I'm doing, there would be people everywhere that are just doing everything they can to help people that they think matter.
Well,
Everybody gets better.
right, everybody gets better, and it's too bad that I mean, I feel like I live around a great group of people. Like, I am blessed right now by everything, and I mean everything. Despite difficulties I've had in relationships, like, I think I have some of the most important people in my life every day, and we do try to help one another. I know that I try to help the people around me.
Yeah, I see it.
That's why, even my job, I got out of a corporate job and I ended up working for a local business because I was actually helping people again.
You're Mac Edge.
Yeah.
I see Mac Edge's name on plenty of advertising that is all supporting
Dan likes to support arts. I think that's why he hired me.
culture. So in a way,
Yeah.
Seacoast music community
Yeah.
is sort of the mentor. It's just very fractured. It's distributed.
Yeah.
We're all here to help each other.
Yeah,
We should be.
I would love to, if we could get together, probably individually at first, but find out what other organizations and group, your other nonprofits or
Continuum
venues.
Arts Collective.
Yeah, sure. What they want us to do too. Hey, give us feedback. What are you looking for? Because I think that's the way that we're going to grow, by asking our community. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Largely, and as we go work together, absolutely.
Yeah, we
And,
need to
and
figure
on a organization level as well as on a personal level. I agree with that.
Right. I remember how thrilled I was when you said that you got somebody to work on the website. I'm like,
Oh.
you're kidding me.
Tangram 3DS.
Yeah. And
Shout out to those folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Sarah
go see
and
their
Stefan.
band tonight.
Forsyth Funk
Yeah.
at Stone Church, the
Yeah.
legendary Stone Church Music Club, high atop Zion Hill.
Oh yeah, good place. But I'm really looking for it. But he thought, and from what I gather, that he
Yeah.
thought that you had been doing such a good job for this, that he believed in what you could do.
He's a capitalist. He's a smart, really sharp guy, Stefan Vittori, and he owns a company called Tangram 3DS.
Yep.
And he had been watching what I was doing with Seacoast Music Scene and Seacoast Entertainer for a few years, and he said, "Why are you not getting paid?"
Oh.
And I said, "Well, there's no money in just simply supporting
Right.
and building this thing." And he said, "But there has to be a way." And I said, "All right, well, how about this? I'll entertain the idea that I can create a thing that enables for money, specifically ad money, or donor money, to come in and feed the community the way that I'm kind of doing it right now."
Wouldn't you want to be able to do that full time? Make a living from it?
If I can make it a full-time thing, I know for a fact, having sold marketing before, that this is a thing that can support not just the community but the person who's doing it.
Because
I agree. And the reason being, if a grand total of nothing is being given and say $500,000 in ad revenue comes in to allow businesses that want to appear, I'll get into the specifics of how the ad
You
sell
mean
is going to
underwriting.
work. Underwriting
Yeah.
and all of that, like supporting the mission and what we do, getting close to us, supplying money so that the name of their business can be close to what we're doing in our organization. However, the technical side of it works out.
Right.
If there's money coming in, I get that if I spend all of my time doing that, I can make more and more come in while helping the community
Right.
by vast more amounts. And if nothing is going towards it right now, and say I took 20% and $400,000 went towards the
Right.
community and 100 went towards me. I don't
But
think
you're
I would
s-
ever
but-
take 100.
But I mean, I'm sure, think of all the people that are going to need to work on what we're doing if
There's
we,
so
if we
many.
grow it.
And the idea is that every single person that works for, contributes to, writes for, all of that stuff. Everybody, retains the rights to everything that they do.
Of course.
Everything that they submit and all of that. Like, it's yours. This is
Right.
just the way that it's going to run.
Right.
But as far as jobs, like jobs for musicians, jobs for people that are regular contributors and stuff, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Wouldn't it be so
That's the idea, is just local support to the community.
Just take a Nashville. I'm sure they
Okay.
have an organization like ours. New York, of course.
Was just there not long ago, and
Yeah.
there, to my understanding, really isn't one.
Really?
No. Anytime you find a place that's a hot spot, most of the time there's a lot of industry talents that are already very much sunk into it.
Oh.
And part of the reason that I made the decision to spin up Seacoast Entertainer as a nonprofit media hub is I was sure that the entertainment coverage vacuum that exists in the area was going to be gobbled up by a corporate media that
Right.
just was like, oh my God, how is nobody covering this area?
Right.
And they send in people and they, do reports and they do articles on, and they do all of that stuff that you'd be like, oh, well, look at, they're supporting. All it is about clicks, and all it is about creating enough interest that they can sell ad revenue, and that money all just goes to the corporate owners.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we can create a thing that does basically that, but takes all the money and pours it back into the arts community,
right.
then we create an engine for supporting the arts. I mean, that should be what a
that is-
nonprofit is doing.
Right, right.
Right?
Hopefully, I'm really feeling like this could be a long-term thing. I think I have a real belief in what you've gotten this to.
I don't think I'm stopping anytime soon. So,
No, me neither.
I mean, I would love to get to the point where if like half of the time that I spend moderating groups, I go through every single profile that asks to join these groups so that I can weed out nonsense and bull,
Oh yeah.
like profiles that are just there to
Oh yeah.
scrape data and cause problems or just market.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I had to turn on post approval in the Seacoast Music Scene main group because of the amount of porn that was getting posted to it.
Oh no.
There's
I
just
hadn't even noticed.
there's just bot accounts that
Yeah.
come in and they just post horrific stuff. So every now and then I have to change the group rules so that I can then dig in and find the profile that did this, because there's anchor profiles. An anchor profile will ask to join the group and it looks relatively legitimate. That's not the profile that's going to be the problem. It's the group, or it's the profiles that know that one.
Right. Yep.
That are the deeper bot profiles, and then those profiles will use the anchor to get to
Be
all
as a
of the different
vector.
groups that they
Yeah.
have access to.
That's interesting.
So there's all this stuff
I-
that happens behind the scenes to guard these groups and
Right.
make sure that there's a community that can exist within it.
Right.
And if I didn't have to do all of that, I could go to that show with you tonight.
Yeah.
And it would be amazing. I'm a music fan.
Well-
it kills me to not get to go to all the stuff that I want to, but I'm also a creator.
Wouldn't it be if we do get to the point where we can pay somebody to do that kind of moderation, That'd
Be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh
'cause-
my God, that's that's perfect.
Like,
I would love
yeah,
to do that,
yeah.
and that's part of the reason that I wanted to turn this into a nonprofit. Was if you are out there and you want to work with this group to create this, by all means, we
Yeah.
need more people doing this, and the more people that are willing to give,
we
the
should.
stronger it gets.
This is
the
where
more companies
This
want.
is where we put the link up for the
Yeah,
Venmo
links
account.
at
right
Seacoast
there,
Entertainer on Venmo.
Yeah.
Same thing with PayPal.
Right.
You can also mail an old school check to P.O. Box 188 in Dover, Rock City, New Hampshire.
Please.
Like, help us to help the local music
Click.
and arts culture.
Click the like button below.
Below, above. Nevin should be like inputting it so it's dancing across the screen.
Yeah.
Like any amount of help that somebody wants to give us, it's going directly back into supporting the community.
See, when we were back and forth on the logo, I had this idea for the logo for the Seacoast Entertainer where it was 2 musical signs. And I'll probably write a short article about how I put it together just to have a little more content in the background of a Seacoast Entertainer. But we spent weeks back and forth.
Yeah,
with
like
just
anything
putting
else.
this small thing together.
Like anything else in an arts
It took 4.
arena,
Right.
everything should be carefully thought out,
Right.
crafted,
Absolutely.
details.
And I think that working together through that, I made better art than if it were just going to be me working through it.
It's the collaboration.
Right. Like having, and I think same for making music in general, the more people that can work on it together.
Yeah.
You were alluding to that, but if you can flow together. Have you ever been in a jam with somebody? No, and you just feel it. And you
Have I ever been in a jam with somebody?
No, hypothetical
I'll reference
question.
Adamas Pondera from back in the day. I'll also reference Jam of Legends. Those are
Yes.
just 2 things.
Yeah. But you know when you get to the point where you're in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's other people that get what
I
you're
miss
doing.
being there.
Active
I miss
listening.
getting out
I
there.
mean, to me,
Yes.
as a musician, active listening has got to be one of the most crucial things because people don't always articulate exactly what they're trying to do. Sometimes they do, and sometimes it's just different. It rhymes or it sounds vaguely like something that you're anticipating it to, but it might be a new take. It might be a new thread. And if you're not open-minded, you may presume that it's what you thought it was and then act accordingly rather than really letting that new thing take form and supporting. So I think in playing with somebody, simply hanging back sometimes and supporting, just repeating on something over and over, letting them fully form their idea. And I hope that's how some of these conversations eventually go.
Yeah.
Where I'm talking to people, I'm talking to an old friend. I mean, I'm talking to a brother right now. So the way that we're coming across is probably a bit disjointed and chaotic.
Yeah.
Just because of how long our back, and we've even recently, within the last month, done a several-hour podcast
Yeah.
that may
That went
not even see
different.
the light of day, just
Right.
because it's lit differently, and like
Right.
the cameras weren't colored the same. But as things take form, I hope that what I'm able to do with this podcast is just allow artists to sit with their thoughts, be honest, and actively think their way through how they think and how they approach, so that others can identify with them. If you don't create the scenario for them to realize
Right.
we are all very similar in the way that we approach this. I'm not alone. I'm not
course
an
not.
island.
Yes.
We show them this is what we are, then what I think people can do is largely realize their powers are almost limitless.
One thing I was thinking about doing is to do maybe 15-minute sessions with a singer-songwriter in here and in PPM TV, and just do a whole series of
Do it.
songwriters.
Oh, yeah, man.
I mean,
The number of shows that are being cooked up right now.
Oh man, I could keep
There's a
this
bunch.
place busy.
I have a growing list of people that are going to be playing shows here, and it'll be recorded. It'll be broadcast.
Yeah.
and
There's some big challenges with that.
They're
The
gonna-
sound challenges are
the
really
sound- well,
tough.
we can do it.
Yeah,
I
of course.
really think we can.
We're gonna have to. Well, will they bring a board in, or I mean, we're gonna need a board.
I have some
just for
interesting
mixing.
things cooking
Okay.
in terms
Yeah.
of sound reinforcement and the way that they'll be able to be recorded.
Okay, yeah, because that's gonna be hard.
It's
yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what people are going to have to realize when we have the studio audience in PPM TV is that this is not a show that you're going to in terms of a bar.
Oh yeah.
It's
no,
a
no.
listening room.
Yes.
And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be witnessing a band recording
Do we have any
for
dates for those
release. No, because the first thing we're doing is the podcast, getting this up and going so that we have the engine. This is when a band is going to be doing that, it's most likely going to be because I've had an interaction with one of their writers, one of the musicians, and really the only people that are going to be coming through here are going to be there's no like advertising that's coming through. You know what I mean? This isn't an infomercial.
No.
The only way you're going to be sitting in that chair is because I find you seriously interesting, and I'm going to get people in as quickly as I can because there are so many interesting people. I don't want anyone to get left out.
Yeah, but I mean,
when we're doing the shows, people who are watching the show happen have to realize and be respectful of the fact that cheering at the end of a song and just generally holding a conversation with somebody next to you while there's a band actively on stage with 3 cameras rolling and a soundboard picking up everything so that they can have a proper recording for DVD or for distribution on any of the social channels or like any and all of that stuff. Yeah. This isn't a bar.
No.
It's the ultimate listening room. Like, you don't talk when you enter here. People will get tossed basically immediately for breaking that. But somebody's going to come through. We're going to have a conversation with them, and then they're going to do a performance. If what you want to do is have 15-minute, check this out, like mini desk, what is that?
Yeah, desk, I know, the NHPR or something like that. Yeah.
Local singer-songwriters who have a really cool thing and you want to just throw a 15-minute, do it.
Yeah, no.
Do it. There's going to be so many different shows like that coming out, and I can't wait.
Any, well, I'm sure you'll have a list. I'll have to see your list of the short list of
some of the notables that are coming.
Yeah. Hopefully I can be here for it, but
how about this?
You know how my schedule is.
The next podcasts that are getting recorded.
Yeah.
I don't know what order they're going to come out in yet, but Courtney Donovan, my wife.
Okay.
Courtney Donovan, one of the more interesting people that I know.
And she's got her group.
Mixtape.
Yeah, that's been like
acapella.
6 or 7 years now, or is it longer?
Next year it'll be 10.
It is 10 years. Holy crap!
Next year it'll be 10. Right. Yeah, they've been doing this since 2015. But she's speaking of backgrounds.
Yeah.
I'll let her speak to the depth and surroundings of her background and why she ended up where she is. But she has a background in accounting.
Right.
And that happened to be perfect. She didn't mind lending her professional abilities to Seacoast Entertainer. So she's our treasurer.
Right.
And again, all of the people that are surrounding are uniquely capable and willing to give what they have to help bring everybody else up. And I want more of that.
You know who I would like to listen to more, and I've listened recently, is Guy.
So,
oh my gosh,
Guy Campusolatro's podcast records Monday night.
Oh,
I can't wait.
Okay.
He's one of the heaviest hitters I know. Every time I perform a show and he's involved with it, if I get to bring him up, I make it a point to let everybody know just what a world-class hero of a human being Guy Campusolato III is. He's one of the most talented people I've ever met. I do everything I can to make him blush because there's nothing that I could possibly say that even gets close to describing to people who don't know him how incredible a human being and how talented and how gifted he is.
Yeah.
He's a virtuoso. He's a genius.
Yeah.
He is a living legend. Everybody needs to know the story of Guy Campusolato, and it's still being written.
Right.
The guy is still hyper relevant.
Yeah, he was. I had never heard him until several years, because when I was playing full time, I didn't have a lot. I think we played similar places, but we never crossed paths.
Yeah.
So I hadn't met him until maybe 5 or 4. Till Seacoast Entertainer started, really. Not like I hadn't heard of him, but I'd never heard him.
Since Seacoast Entertainer started, so you're talking back in like 2011? Or are you talking 21, like when I turned it into
21,
a nonprofit?
Like 3 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I've got this really weird thing that I do where I recognize a lot of names.
Oh, yeah.
I recognize who a lot of the big players are in the area and who have just been doing this forever. I don't presume they care who I am, and I don't insinuate myself into their life or say, hey, what? I just observe them for the most part until there's like a natural, our lives are crossing now moment. I don't collect people, and I don't aim to be collected. I don't add people on Facebook if they just like add me. If you don't send me a message and say, hi,
how are you?
I can't, I mean, every now and then I'll go through and just like make sure
that your friends are your friends.
My friends are my but like there's no reason to approach life from that standpoint. Like that's the basis of a friendship is manipulation. Like you're using me like a commodity. Like you want to be close to me because I bring something to your life. Like there's an exchange, but I'm not aware that it's happening, so you're not going to offer to pay me because you're actually just trying to reach my friends. Like there's a reason I go by S. Joseph Haney on Facebook. And it's because of the number of people when I was in the Massachusetts scene very heavily that were saying like, oh yeah, you know Sean, for Division Tree, like we were talking about doing a show. Yeah. We should do a show together, and just using their knowing my name to get shows with people that I knew. So I hid my friends list and changed my. So if I'm online and people are like, I was just talking to Joey Jojo over there, Joe Haney. If you know who I am, you know that I never go by anything except Sean.
Yeah.
So anybody that knows me knows immediately when someone is talking.
That's Joseph.
That Joe guy, Joe Haney. Anyone who knows me knows this person's lying to you right now. Don't listen. They're trying to manipulate you.
Well, it's never happened to me.
No, that's not true. I've heard plenty of people talk about knowing you and friends with you, and try and big themselves up because of association.
No
It's
way.
gross. It's transactional, but they're not offering you anything. It's gross.
Oh, no.
And to act like you don't think that a musician or someone who's highly perceptive and sensitive knows what's happening when it's happening is an insult. It's a gross insult. I mean, and I see that. I'm probably a little bit too pessimistic about that. But I really think whether or not people know that what they're doing is disingenuous and an insult to the person that you're doing it to, it is. So I never insinuate myself into someone else's life. It wasn't until like 5 or 6, oh God, no, it's COVID blip really got me on that one.
Yeah, COVID doesn't work.
I met Martin England, another freaking living legend in the area. I met him, but it wasn't until like 2017 or 18. And when I actually met him, like for real met him, I know who he is. I've known who he was since the 90s.
Yeah.
I don't presume he knows or cares who I am. Not that he's a bad person, but who the hell am I? When I actually met him, everybody that knew both of us was like, how's that? That's not possible. How do you two, how are you two not best friends? You're so alike.
What's the guy, the bass player who owns SeacoastMusicScene.com or something? It's on the other day.
Martin.
Tom Martin, yes. I
Martin.
ran into him the other day.
Great dude. He had the foresight a while back to do what I predicted someone was going to do, which is why we needed to buy up all of the domains and everything, all the IP that surrounds what we're doing.
We ended up talking for about 25 minutes. I was waiting for the kids to come for the 4th of July in Portsmouth.
So he did that. He actually did. He rounded up SeacoastMusicScene.com.
Yeah.
And he started Seacoast Music Scene page on Facebook.
Yeah. He was really nice to talk to.
But he's not looking to hold on to it and like keep it from us. He wants to make sure someone's doing what we're doing.
Yeah. I was just talking to him. I've known him for years, kind of.
Really?
Like, just like being around the same kind of people.
Yeah, he's connected.
But he's been pretty busy in the music scene for a long time.
For a long time he has been, He's one of those working cats.
Yeah, who knew? But it was nice seeing him. I'm glad I have a little more time to go and actually witness other people's music again.
I can't wait till I can do that. I'm on the way home. Usually when I get to go out and see music, I'm a music fan musician.
Yeah.
So, which is painful.
Right.
Because I'm either rehearsing, playing a show, doing Seacoast Music Scene, Seacoast Entertainer stuff to support the rest, or if it happens that in between going from this thing to that thing,
Yeah.
there's somebody playing and I can stop in for a half an hour to an hour,
Yeah.
it's the best.
Oh, yeah.
I miss getting to go out and see people constantly. But yeah, there was a thing that happened, and COVID changed everything in the area, and I think it changed everything in a lot of areas.
Yeah, and I
Where-
think this is a good time for this kind of organization to like really bring
Help
things
facilitate,
together.
bring all of, if we have a coordinated effort, we can definitely much more easily facilitate the rebirth of stages. There was that Save Our Stages hashtag, and it unfortunately, the attention passed very, very quickly. But what a lot of people don't realize is just the number of stages that went under
Yeah,
and aren't coming back.
and that kind of is what happened to Dover.
And that's what happened to Dover,
Yeah.
and that's what happened to a lot of the area. Portsmouth used to be a vibrant place to go see music. Now, I mean,
There are venues.
There's a handful of venues, but really the only people get booked are the people that are very deeply a part of old Portsmouth scene. Like, unless you're a pro that's coming through and
Right.
taking a Saturday night or a Friday night.
I've never got to go to Jimmy's. Have you been to that place?
I've been to
I
Jimmy's.
have not yet seen it, though they seem to really want to support local.
So Suzanne, she's the woman that's in charge of booking and facilitating the entertainment there is, she is an industry titan for decades. She's very, very sharp. She's very, very good at what she does. And she does seem genuinely interested. At least every conversation I've had with her, she's recognized what I'm doing and that she loves that, and she wants to do everything she can to help support the local
Right.
music community. She realizes what exists here.
Yeah.
The thing that she needs to weigh that against, which I think she is doing very well, she is coming from an industry background, which means she recognizes that there are people who expect dollars.
Of course.
And in order for this thing to continue, they're going to expect, because they laid out millions of dollars to make this thing happen, they're going to expect their return.
Yeah.
And that usually means you need to bring in very large acts that pay, that
Right.
get a very large ticket sum, and they need to have an amazing chef and culinary experience to support with the food and the beverage and all of that stuff. Like, the amount that they need to bring in order to keep that venue running in downtown Portsmouth is huge.
Yeah. It's an endeavor.
You
It is a
can't
business.
put people on the stage over and over again that have no draw,
Of course.
or that have who haven't really well put together their stage performance. Like, if you can be an incredible musician and a talented, gifted writer,
Right.
why are you getting on stage if you haven't worked on your performance? If you're asking everybody to look at you, look at this thing that I'm doing, you have to give them something to look at.
Right.
And you have to be able, like, you don't just take a stadium and put a rookie on the mic.
That's
Because they may say something that causes a stampede or a riot. They may say something that goes sideways quick. When was the last time Dave Grohl said something that went sideways quick? Everything he says in front of a crowd is going to make sure that everybody's happy and having a good time and feeling safe.
That's why I liked not only running an open mic night for a couple of years, but going to open mics, because you get to see people like kind of forming them,
Figuring it out.
that thing,
I
and
love
you
it,
can
man.
see their
It's the
progress over time.
It's the best.
Yeah, and what I also like is that the influence that we get on each other. Like, oh, look at the way that they're writing. That's beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
that's like
It's inspiring.
It's inspiring to watch other people go through it. Like, or people who are like, there's a few people that I saw that were struggling on stage, and then they started having a good time on stage. You could see the difference, even if it's not complicated material. It doesn't need to be complicated material.
Yeah.
You need to feel it.
You gotta feel
It's
it.
you don't need to be a technical musician to appeal to people.
You can be, but you don't have to be.
You don't have to be, you know.
You don't have to be. You don't
But
have
if
to
you
be
get
the
a
absolute
feeling
best.
right and it resonates,
Yeah.
it doesn't. It could be a 3-chord wonder song. It doesn't matter. And there are plenty of songs out there that you and I know that just hit your heart every time you hear them.
It took me forever to get to the point where I allowed space for those who don't follow the same pursuit within music that I do. I would look at everything from the standpoint of, well, music is an art,
Yeah.
and therefore people should approach music from an artist's standpoint. And they shouldn't simply be making marketing copy,
Okay.
something that they know is going to sell.
Okay.
But there is room for that, because there are musicians who aren't necessarily the most artistically gifted. They don't have a brain that just operates way outside of the bounds and can wrangle in ideas that are just abstract and make it palatable
Right.
to masses. That's a balancing act. That's a Jenga in
That's a-
4 dimensions.
That's a Radiohead type of thing.
There's really few and far between, but the greater musical experience that everybody can have and offer to others who really should be going out and seeing more music, just general populace, if you can show them something that's invigorating, you don't have to be the most skilled player on the planet. You don't have to have a certificate from Berkeley saying you are one of the most gifted musicians to hit the circuit this year. You don't
Right.
have to have that.
Right.
And in fact, being someone who can pull in wild concepts from deep space and make them somehow interesting or maybe not recognizable yet, but an abstract form or idea that somebody can take and use as a new tool in a new way. I feel bad for the people that are just technicians and they don't really have the ability to tap into that. I do feel badly for them. They may make more money because, people that don't necessarily want to sit and think very hard about what it is that they're listening to, I'm in a niche. If you're looking to just get lost and tap your foot along and enjoy hearing the same buzzwords and get delivered with a melody that's very soothing and repeatable, that you know what's coming and when it's coming so that you can tap right along.
Right.
There's a place for that. And every now and then, to gain cred, they hire a technician, somebody who's just a masterful player, and they rip a solo. There's no solos in Cursed on Earth music at all. It's everything is constructed just so, and it all balances against itself, and it's
more
its own
orchestrated.
thing.
Yeah.
It is, but so when you look at Jimmy's, she needs to bring in people
Right. It's a business.
that can sell 250 tickets in a night, because they need to keep that thing going. But what she's doing at the same time is she's created this local night, Monday.
Yes. Yeah.
You take a night that's not a heavy touring night.
Right.
You don't have all the bigs coming through on necessarily a Monday.
Yeah. Of course.
Sometimes if they are playing Boston, a big market on a Saturday, and they're not actually heading to California until Wednesday, they pick up a show in Portsmouth.
Yeah, why not?
Portsmouth, New Hampshire, out of the way. They can pay them a chunk and give access to people here to see Herbie Hancock play. Oh my God! All I have to do is drive to Portsmouth.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to New York or Boston. I can see it here in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Right.
Take a night that isn't really booming,
Right.
and give the stage.
To some locals. I haven't, with my work and kid schedule, I have not had a chance to go to any of those yet.
I've told her a couple of ideas for shows that I'm working on that I want to put
you-
out there, and she loves both of them and
What are you
wants
doing?
me to do them.
Are you not allowed to say?
Well, one of them is bringing back the Perspective series. She wants to do that on a. She liked the idea so much she wanted to do it using nationals, which is taking the spider webbing. I did it. I started the show at WSCA. And Chris Hislop actually asked me to come in and play for 2 hours, and I said, I'm a drummer. And he said, yeah, I don't care. You just do whatever you want to do for 2 hours. There's 2 nights that I need you to do this on. And I said, all right, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it in a show kind of a way. I'm not just going to bring my drum set in.
Was that February?
That February got canceled because of an ice storm.
Right.
But I did the first Perspective series show. So the series there's 2 shows.
Yeah.
And I pick somebody that I really like their music or how they approach
Is that
music and
2.5,
creativity.
3 years ago now?
That was the rescheduled show from the second half of my Perspective series. I did the first one in January, The second one was supposed to happen in February. A couple of weeks later, it got shut down to a rainstorm or to an ice storm, and then COVID hit. So the rescheduled one got wiped out.
Okay.
But basically, I bring in an artist that I really like, and they bring in each night, each 2-hour block, they bring in 2 musicians that they've worked with, 2 bands that they've worked with, to illustrate what they're talking through at that event, which is the way that they approach music, their background in music, what they look to accomplish as a musician, really just get into their mind as a creator, and have them bring in musical outfits each night that
I get that.
kind of reflect or demonstrate what elements of music and their interaction with it that they're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's the Perspective series. I did mine. I would, sooner than later, I'll be starting that back up again. As soon as I can start taking things and have other people running them, and like spin it up and push it off, I'll be starting a lot more, and I'll be running those. But she really liked the idea of that one, and wanted to do it at Jimmy's, but using nationals.
Right.
And I said, well, that's brilliant, but my focus is doing it for
the
locals.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to do both, and maybe once a month it's a national, and the other 3 nights I bring in a Martin England, I bring in a Sean Daniels, I bring in a Duncan Watt, I bring in a Max Chase, these guys that are just so versed and steeped in recording and creating and putting out, and
I'm trying to think of somebody's name right now too. Keep going. I'm sorry.
I
around my brain.
would have absolutely loved to do a Perspective series featuring Chelsea Paolini.
Yeah.
She was one of those ones that you knew was a true artist.
I did not meet her.
And losing her from the scene, that hit so many people. I won't pretend to be somebody that was really, really close with her. I knew her like I know a lot of musicians from afar.
Yeah.
I know her work. I look at it in a way that I recognize what kind of an artist she was because of how she interacted with things like awards. You can kind of tell where a person is mentally, the way that they look at awards in art. I think it's gross. Mm-hmm. And she was nominated for a New England Music Award. Not to throw shade, but any award, I think, is nonsense in the arts anyway. Because to call it a meritocracy, all you're really doing is you're giving an award because somebody gave you a ton of money. Maybe it wasn't the artist, but it was their label, or it was their management company, or it was some
a spin doctor type of.
Hey man, don't knock on the spin doctors. I love those guys.
Yeah.
No. Like the awards shows, you can tell who's going to win or be nominated based on who in the industry is spinning up the most money. It's a giant thing like that. So in the local level, the way that you get nominated, the way that you both get nominated and win, it's based on how far you spread the name. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like you asked for likes or something.
You ask all of your friends and followers, hey, you got to vote for me. That's not an award show. It's a popularity contest. Yeah. So if you advertise for them, if you give your own authenticity and credibility that you've built up as an artist to them by way of telling all of the people, you're signaling to all of the people that matter to you, your friends and followers, this matters to me. So they're benefiting from you saying, this matters to me. You give a little bit of your authenticity and credibility away to New England Music Awards. Her response to being nominated was one of the most poetic and beautiful things I've ever seen. She lit it on fire. She literally she couldn't shit on it fast enough. And the way that she did was in such a beautiful manner. I was like, God damn, that's an artist. That is an artist.
I didn't see it. What happened?
Real deal.
Did she actually?
I'm not going to quote it, but no, it wasn't like that. Somebody asked her after a show, what's it like to be nominated for this type of a thing? And it was basically like, it literally means less than nothing. It's all they're asking me to do is tell everybody that I know that it would matter to me a lot, if they recognized me. So you're just kind of begging for their acceptance, their praise, But in order to do that, you have to do their marketing for them for free. And you need to turn over all of your authenticity and value as an artist to that process.
I think on that. I've thought of it like that.
It's the reason that someone like Tool would get up on stage at the Grammys and make an absolute mockery of it. Because it is nothing but industry grandstanding and back padding, and there's a whole politics to it. And if you're an artist, it shouldn't matter. The people that see you, that go to see you, that care about you, that engage with you, like, do you span generations? Do you do anything as an artist? Do you really put something out there that's moving the needle in terms of perception and perspective? Because that's what art is, isn't it? I think.
Right.
Otherwise, it's marketing copy.
Sure.
You're just selling albums. You're really good at making people love you. It's a popularity contest, but for money. Like, it's meaningless. If you're curious about it, look up every single Frank Zappa interview that ever happened.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll get a greater idea of the philosophies that I'm talking about right now.
He still was able to make his living on music, and he didn't have to be corporate.
He made his living a lot of different creative ways, man.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of different creative ways. Right down to puppeteering on Sesame Street. Or no, it wasn't Sesame Street. It was the Muppets.
Oh, I did not know.
Like Kermit and Fozzie and all. He's the dude that's underneath the.
Oh, I had no idea.
Puppeteering. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And also, what was that? Crystal. God, I can't remember the name of it right now.
Is it a movie or an animated?
Yeah, it's
animated?
there was puppets in it, and it was a movie, and it's the Dark Crystal.
Dark Crystal. I will
Producer
have
Never
to
is yelling over. Dark Crystal. That was him.
I will have to watch that.
Not
I
solely
think
him,
I've
but
seen it.
They just brought it back for Netflix.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at that.
They did a new one. They did a good job with it.
Yeah.
The people that are the diehards, that are going to be the toughest to please, saw it, and they were like, I get it. I like what you did here. You paid homage.
Yeah. I was thinking about Netflix. I'm like, oh, whenever Netflix on, it's like Lego Ninjago for the kids, and I can't rest them from it.
Netflix is awesome. And
I mean,
it's hard to.
is it any better than what it was when we were kids?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I
because
can say without even
because you get to choose.
without even pumping the brakes. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
awesome, and it's incredible. And the fact that you can get so many different points of view and so many different ideas and so many different perspectives from so many different people. Back when we were growing up, man, if it didn't come across a network,
Didn't happen.
not only did it not happen, it didn't happen the way you think it happened, and they could just recreate entire events. Did you know that it was 12 years, not to go back to politics, but it was like 12 years that people in this country thought that the JFK assassination happened exactly like we were told it happened? The Zapruder film came out like 12 years after he was shot.
Yeah. I did not know. No. Because I was post.
How could you possibly know it didn't come over one of the networks? All they needed to do is own a handful of networks.
Right.
Oh my God, I don't want to go back down that direction.
Let's not do it.
Hi everyone, Sean with Seacoast Entertainer. I hope you're already enjoying one of the greatest communities in the world and in the homes of that community on social media, like Seacoast Music Scene groups of New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts, and the fastest growing new group, Lakes Region Music Scene, all on Facebook, and at Seacoast Entertainer on IG, as well as Seacoast_Tainer on X. That's in addition to the shows we've been hosting or sponsoring around the region, like Jam of Legends, Writers in the Round, and these podcasts you're listening to now. And this is only the beginning. We're growing, and it takes a lot of work behind the scenes. As anyone who has built a business or organization will tell you, it is effort. When it's entirely volunteer driven, it is devotion. Devotion, though, doesn't pay the bills, and building a world-class website comes with bills. Fortunately, we have a community leader who has stepped up to help as an in-kind sponsor to cover the vast development costs. We could use more. A website as robust and feature-rich as the one they're building us has a lot of services backing it up in order to give you the experience in following the arts you didn't realize you were missing. We'll need to cover the costs of these services. Things like a stream of content from your favorite local artists from the popular social sites, fed to one central location outside the confines confines of those services, and a calendar populated with schedules of upcoming events across the region. Certainly, not least, is Real Journalism will make a return to the Seacoast under the leadership of our editor-in-chief, Christopher Hislop. With this comes all of our favorite pieces like 5 Spot and Spotlight. One of my favorite undertakings in all of this is the Musicians Archive, a constantly expanding archive of the musicians and bands who have come before and those who are just getting their stage legs. We all know that we're standing on the shoulders of giants here, so we'll pay tribute to as many as we can identify. From the ultra-popular like Say Zuzu, Thanks to Gravity, The Press Project, and Fly Spinach Fly, to wildly impactful artists whose names you've never heard. When you hear me reading ad copy for businesses, know this: they're paying actual money to support our amazing way of life, engaging with this gift to humanity, the arts.
Oh boy.
Well, let's save basically everything else for another. Is there anything else you want to throw out there, or are we going to wrap this up? We got to go see a couple of shows.
Let's see. So,
how do you find you on social media?
Me?
You personally, Anthony Vito Fiandaca.
AVF Music at whatever, usually. I was thinking more along the lines of, for Seacoast Entertainer, we're hoping to have it live by August,
September 1st is our
All right.
very aggressive go live date.
Right. Is there anything we can talk about that that would maybe call for, like, do we need help in any way, shape, or form that we can take?
We need all of the money we can get because the elements that are building the site that we'll be doing all of what we're going to be doing cost money.
Cost money. So, again, Venmo.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
elements, real quickly, that are going to exist within this. There's going to be a calendar that covers all of the different shows and events that are going on that you don't have to go to a social media site to try and find.
Right.
It's all going to be in one place.
And we're gonna build profiles for all those groups that are out there. So not only will you see the event, but you'll be able to read about them and hear them as soon as possible.
Seacoast Entertainer will have a very large music archive that's already started being created. It will have bio, links, pictures, how to get their merch, how to listen to their music.
Yeah.
From as far back as we can possibly go to current. The only requirement is you need to actually be engaging and creating. So if you would like to someday and you're working on recording your first song, if you've never played a show, you're not going to have an artist page. When you go through the motions entirely, and we'll help you if you haven't, that's a part of the mentorship thing, getting you across the finish line. You know, the old adage in art, like, how do you know when it's done?
Right.
If you never call something done, you've never actually released something. So we'll help people get to the point where they're releasing, but people who are just off and running and releasing albums and playing shows, they're all going to have an artist page.
Right.
And you'll be able to track people, spiderweb people, basically, from band to band.
If there's an artist out there and they wanted to be submitted, and we haven't heard of them yet for some reason, where would they go?
Go into Seacoast Music Scene. You go into files or pinned posts. I have
Is there an email that they can send to, or?
I mean, you can send to Seacoast Entertainer at Mailfence, but really I would prefer that
I think
people follow the form that I've created and put out there so that they input the information I need to track down the band or the members and create this database.
Okay.
So go to Seacoast Music Scene on Facebook.
And I'm sure when the website goes live, there'll be a version on the website, probably, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It'll be very easy to make submissions.
Yeah.
And so that's two big things: the calendar, the archive, and the archive is up till current. So people who are currently out there, you can get their stuff there. There's also going to be journalism, actual reporting, and pieces coming out written by yours truly. I hope you as well.
Yes, I will.
Christopher Hislop is bringing 5 Spot, beloved area publication, or a publication. It's more of a series.
Yeah.
5 Spot to get to know artists that he particularly enjoys in the community, as well as Spotlight. A couple of notable names. Those will all live at Seacoast Entertainer.
Good.
And then there's going to be a stream of what's going on in social media with a lot of these different artists all kind of funneled to the same place so that you can kind of see what people are up to. Exactly how that's going to function is still being ironed out. But we want people to be able to go to one specific place. When you want to engage with the arts community of the Seacoast, you go to seacoastentertainer.org.
And it's
you
one
don't
stop.
have to go sift through social media and every single algorithm trying to take your attention.
Right.
You don't have to go to YouTube. And the most talented AI on the planet right now is YouTube's Up Next algorithm. It basically controls the entire planet. So if you don't have to go to YouTube and you can find content and engage with the local community
Right.
in one place, the response that I'm getting from people is, thank God, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
How can this not already have happened?
Yeah.
It's happening right now. We're making it. So if you
it's-
want to help what we're doing, by all means, reach out, get in touch.
And if somebody wants to write or submit a story, is that a different process? Are we going to have them write to Chris?
So yeah, everything that is written is going to go through. He's the editor-in-chief, so everything will go through him.
Is it an info at Seacoast or a news at that? We'll have to figure that out because I don't think
Yeah,
we
that'll be-
discussed how we're going to take submissions.
I don't want to just throw out his email address.
Of course not.
Yet. But there will be a way to submit story and all of that stuff, and it will end up in his desk for him to go through. Everything is not going to simply get published because the trolls exist.
Yeah.
But everyone who's a creator in the area and is writing and looks to make that their form of expression should have an outlet and will.
And I'm sure, I know we've talked about it before, I think, that when that happens, we're going to have some kind of party. Like some kind of...
There will be
we
a
have
launch
to do
party
that.
coming soon, yes.
Yeah.
We're going to have a bunch of our favorite bands and area artists
Yeah.
engaged.
I am so looking forward
That's
to
going
that.
to be amazing.
That's going to be really
I
fun
love
time.
throwing a party.
Are we thinking well, we'll figure out a location. We
Yeah, I'm
haven't
not
gotten
doing
there
that yet. I
Yeah,
have a
we haven't-
couple on the short list.
Okay. Hopefully we get there really soon because I want...
There is a
that to
show
happen.
that we came up with that is, I'll tease it.
All right.
It's a place where there's a festival style, maybe multiple stages happening simultaneously, but a day or two where people come through and they're just bands, bringing all of their old merch out.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
and there's just tables everywhere of stuff like that you can't get anymore. Like, can you see this? My Lemon Fresh Kids sticker, Weed Ink.
Is
you
it?
know?
Is it going to be like...
This is from the archives. You couldn't get this unless you went to the Stone Church
Right.
Lemon Fresh Kids show. That's Tim McCoy, absolute living legend.
All right.
Through a show with Leo and I don't remember the
All right,
drummer's
you'll have to tell me more. Do you guys have marketing for it? Or is that somebody else's?
we have the idea of for the show, but we have it. There are a couple of places that we know we want to do it, but we don't know which one yet, so we're not going to let that out. But it is going to be a big festival
sounds
of
fun.
local music and bands bringing out
Remember
stuff.
when they don't still have Local Palooza? They used to do a yearly Local Palooza show.
Yeah, it doesn't
What?
exist anymore.
How long?
Revel in the Meadow is the closest you're going to get to it, and that's a continuum
Is
arts
that
collective.
August?
That is in August 10th.
Yep.
If you
Is
haven't
that Berwick?
it's in Dover now.
It's in Dover now. They did something.
It's in Dover at the Dover Elks.
Oh, okay.
It's a very large space. The Elks were great to them last year,
Right.
and they're going to be holding it again this year.
And that's Martin, England.
that is Martin England's.
Yeah.
Also, Chris Hislop sits on the board for Continuum Arts Collective.
Okay.
Martin and Jen run that. Jen England. They are just the most incredible people and so giving and so selfless. Such a supportive.
They posted a lineup, didn't they?
They did, yeah. There's a bunch of great bands on that.
Yeah.
And if this comes out prior, I suggest everyone get tickets to this
Yeah,
thing. I have
yeah.
2 VIP tickets in hand. I can't wait. Fat Dog Kitchen is catering. Like, how do you get better?
Hungry.
It's just, it's going to be incredible. If this is out before that, everybody needs to go.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get that up.
I believe it can. I believe this will be out before it. But yeah, August 10th, Revel in the Meadow.
So we got that. We got some events coming up that we're.
What are you doing as a musician that's kind of fun and you're excited about that might be coming down the pike? Do you want to mention anything about any of that?
I am actually writing again. I think I went for a solid 9 years without really writing a song.
And now you've got some good stuff flowing.
I do.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I kind of had to, go through a few things and meet a few people.
Life, man.
Yeah, life. And
life needs to happen.
That still might be that's the working title.
Life.
I think you saw the post on Facebook and you said, tell me that so yeah, I'm trying to keep it to around 7 songs. I'm not going to make like a big, huge, I might even keep it to 5 and keep it just really dense and like have some really worked out material. I've got to work out.
Well, here's the thing. The number of things that you put on an album, if that's what you're doing, completely irrelevant these days.
Yeah.
If you're self-producing, self-publishing, and releasing, it's entirely between you and your fan base.
Yeah.
There's nobody barking down the RCA chain saying, hey man, this guy doesn't have 12. You need more minutes. You need to get a radio-friendly one. It needs to be 2 minutes and 22 seconds at most. There's none of that.
I just really want some good material out. And I'm working on some of the old ones too that I might get around to.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Tony, let's wrap it there.
Okay.
We'll have lots more conversations.
I'm sure we will.
I can't wait to have you back doing this thing again. It's great growing with you and learning with you.
Yeah.
I love you to death, brother.
I love you too, man.
I'm glad we're here.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, everybody. I love everybody that's still watching this and everybody that is looking to give and support Seacoast Entertainer, the mission. We are, like I said, a 501c3, and everything can be written off. If you want to get involved in underwriting or in-kind sponsorships, I believe is the technical term, what they're called, there is a way to do that. Reach out, get in touch, either S. Joseph Haney at seacoastentertainer.com or seacoastentertainer@mailfence.com. I check both of those. And we'll talk about getting you involved. As for right now, I do have to thank Tangram 3DS. They are our first in-kind sponsor. That is the company that's making our website right now. It is going to be a tremendous website, folks. We're talking like Village Voice level. Beautiful design and construction, super easy to navigate. You'll find everything that you're looking for. And honestly, I really, the people that are building it are giant music community fans.
Yes.
And are building it in a way that they want it to exist so that they can use it.
Right.
So this is not built from the standpoint of how do we sell more ad dollars. It is entirely, if you love music and you love the arts and you want to engage in it and you want to see just how wild and special this area that is surrounding us is, you're going to want to be at seacoastentertainer.org constantly.
Right.
So.
And that's what we're going to try and get done.
That's what we're doing.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of shows. There's going to be a lot of content coming at you because the area is mind-bogglingly rich with creators. Yeah. So get ready.
Get out there.
Love you, everybody.
Bye.
Here they are. Without these folks, taking Seacoast Entertainer to the next levels wouldn't be happening. Not to this scale. Tangram 3DS actively supports our music and arts scene and has proudly been part of it for the last 20 years. Their creative pros bring vision to life with everything from 3D renderings and VR to video, animation, web design, and branding. As a team of artists living and working on the Seacoast, Tangram considers a thriving local culture essential to us all for the connections we make, communities we build, and creativity we foster. Visit Tangram3ds.com to learn more, see their work, and imagine what they can do for you.